Good morning and welcome to the CABE webinar for Wednesday, the 12th of February. Today we're looking at getting to the core of mental health with Jon Burgess. My name is Jordan and I'm the Regional Services Administrator here at CABE. I'll be acting as the moderator for this morning's session. We like to make our webinars interactive, so do feel free to send us any questions and we'll address these at the end with a short Q&A session. To get in touch with us, you can type in questions. There is a little panel on your screen that will either be at the top or the side, depending on how you're viewing this today. Just go to the question panel and type them in, and these will appear on my screen. And once we get to the end of the session, we'll go through these with Jon. If we get a lot, I won't have time to address them all, but what we can do is send them over to Jon outside of the session and he can then answer them for you. If you're watching via YouTube, you can still ask questions. Just send them to info@cbld.com. And if you're on Twitter, you can chat to us by using #CabeCPD. So this morning's session is given to you by Jon Burgess. He's a wellbeing coach who believes that everyone deserves the opportunity to unlock their own potential and look, feel and function better. With both his passion to help others and over 20 years of experience in the health, fitness and wellbeing industry, Jon's coaching programs are helping people enjoy real and measurable results. By educating and inspiring his clients to make positive improvements in their nutrition, lifestyle and exercise regimes, he regularly sees tangible results in his clients. Increased energy, more restful sleep, reduced stress, weight and inch loss, improved mood, reduced bloating, improved gut health, and increased confidence are all benefits many of his clients experience. So if you just give me a couple of seconds, I'll hand over to Jon and he can take control and take you through this morning's session. You're all good to go, Jon?
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you for the warm welcome and introduction. Welcome to everybody listening to either the live webinar or the recording, and it's a pleasure to be here. So, the topic, getting to the core of mental health and raising resilience. What I'm going to go through is a really balanced approach to improving the way that we feel and that we function day to day. And before I do that, let me just do a slightly further introduction to myself. So yes, as Jordan said, I've worked in health and wellbeing for over 20 years. And I was one of those personal trainers that was playing semi-professional football, doing lots of running, teaching lots of classes, very fit. However, I was not healthy. Back then, I was tired, I was fed up, I had no energy left for myself in the evenings or weekends, my skin wasn't great, my digestive system wasn't happy, and my mood was low. So I really see fitness and health as being two separate things that can complement each other. I also then, at that point, went to learn from some of the best health and wellbeing teachers from around the world. A couple of guys here called Paul Chek, Charles Poliquin, started to understand how important the inside of how our body works, our digestive system, our sleep, the importance of the right fuel and nutrition, how to manage and stress and raise our resilience. Implemented this myself and felt a huge improvement. Then shared it with my clients that I was working with one-to-one and saw the measurable results of that too for them. So it's now that I really enjoy sharing my knowledge, doing workshops, webinars, live events in the workplace, as well as a little one-to-one coaching too. So it's my wish for you that the time that you're spending right now listening in, that time is well spent. It's productive and it has a positive impact on you moving forwards. Not just on you tomorrow or next week, but next month, next year, and maybe even the people around you. I also hope that this is a webinar that allows you to have an insight to look out for others too. Maybe it could be family members, friends, or work colleagues. So we're really raising awareness. However, to make it to have a positive impact on you, then it's important to be open to change. Because as the saying goes, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I encourage you, if you're open to it, to change something, to change at least one thing, maybe 3 more if you choose, on the back of listening to this webinar that'll help you moving forwards. So I want to start off by saying why I believe now is the most important time for us to start taking responsibility for and taking care of ourselves and our health and our well-being, and putting it as at a priority. Ideally, in the top 3 or 4 priorities in our life, taking care of our health really needs to be there, in my opinion. Now, there's 2 main reasons why I believe now is the most important time to do that. Number 1, we live in a time where there's an epidemic of epidemics. What might they be? We've got things like the heart disease epidemic. There's an epidemic in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The autoimmune epidemic. Obesity epidemic is still very real. Diabetes epidemic is huge right now. And there are many, many more. So what's important is to take care of our health so that we reduce our risk of being a statistic in the epidemic of epidemics. And there's lots of evidence to show that our lifestyle choices can influence our ability to stay healthy and to reduce our risk of these epidemics. There's lots of research that shows that many of the conditions I've just talked about can be influenced by our lifestyle choices. So that's reason number 1. Number 2 is to be your best you, to be the best you can be. So you've got the energy and the vitality and the freedom in your body to do the things you want to do, whether that's work related and professionally and how you want to progress your businesses or in your career, or it could simply be to do the things you want to do in life, the hobbies, the challenges. Have you always wanted to trek somewhere? Have you always wanted to take up a sport, or what is it you want to do? And when we've got the energy and vitality, then we can go and live our life. And also it's about being in the best mood we can, so we feel better mentally too, to enjoy life. So it's about being your best you. So 2 main reasons, and those 2 hopefully will help motivate you to create change. The other point I want to highlight is, how's your well-being? When was the last time that you stopped and took a check, a self-assessment on your own health? I use the analogy of a car. We all have to MOT our cars legally, check that they're roadworthy, make any adjustments and repairs to prevent any major issues going on. It's exactly the same with our body, except it's not legal. We don't have to do it. So my question is, how often are you checking in and doing your own health MOT? Hopefully regularly, but if not, schedule it. Take time to stop, reflect. Questions you might want to be asking yourself is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are my energy levels? How's my sleep? How's my digestive system working? How's my mood? How's my joint health? I have lots of joint aches and pains. And you can go through that list and add to it and stop and reflect and work out which of those areas that you score low on, if any, and make adjustments, seek advice, seek support to improve it. Make sure your body's roadworthy. So when it comes to mental health and raising resilience, there's 3 key areas I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about stress, I'm going to talk about sleep, I'm going to talk about nutrition. Like me, I'm sure, and like many other people, we're living in a busy modern world now. Times are different, everything's very fast-paced, technology's fast-paced, and it's about how can we be resilient in this busy modern world. Let's start about looking at what is stress and understanding stress. Some of you may show your age here. I think I'm showing mine when I bring up Captain Caveman, favourite cartoon character for many people. And it's here to say, well, I want to take us back to hunter-gatherer days. And back in those days, stress was when we faced a saber-toothed tiger when we were out hunting and gathering. Pretty mean looking, fierce beast, and we would do one of two things. I'm sure you've heard of it. We would either want to fight or run, fight or flight. And we would either fight the saber-toothed tiger, hopefully win, or we would get out of there quickly, hopefully survive. By the way, in that moment, it's very physical, and we're in a high state of stress. So adrenaline starts pumping from adrenal glands. It starts releasing the stress hormone cortisol to our muscles so that we can do that physical fighting or running away. At that point, digestion's not important, so it starts to shut down, and it's quite intense. It's very physical, and let's say we survive that scenario, we are then back around the campfire, hopefully with some food, and in our social communities, and we get plenty of time to rest from that short burst, intense, stressful scenario, physical stressful scenario. So I liken the rest and recovery phase as being on holiday. We've all been on holiday where, maybe after 2, 3, or for some of us a little longer days, we actually really start to slip into a peaceful state of mind, where we really feel at one with ourselves and with our surroundings. Maybe we're looking up at the sky or the sea, and we're looking at it and going, wow, how blue. I didn't realize those colors so they don't look real. And our most difficult decision of the day could be walking down the street, deciding which restaurant to eat in. We may be reading a book, sitting back, giving ourselves plenty of time to rest, recuperate, rejuvenate our bodies. Our bodies need that rest. So that's the stress response. However, it can be very different in modern day because we're no longer being chased by saber-toothed tigers, thankfully. However, there are modern day stresses which are the equivalent for us and are less physical and more mental. So when I ask this question in a group scenario, most people respond by talking about the emotional stresses that can be going on in their life or other lives that they see. So there could be relationship stress. Those of us as parents realize parental stress can be very real. There can be work stress, deadlines, pressures, financial stress, guilt, anxiety and worry. Some people just find that they are regularly worrying about what's just happened or what might happen. One of the biggest fears behind most fears and stresses can be the fear of judgment. What will others think of me if they knew, if I did this? And another emotional stress is loneliness, isolation. We'll talk about that a bit further later. So when we talk about stress, these are the things that many people consider and that jump into their minds when we talk about stress. And they're all emotional and very real. However, on top of that, I want to highlight and pay attention to some of the physical stresses that can be going on as well. So being in pain, having an injury, knee pain, back pain, unaddressed, those pains can be constantly, the pain triggers the stress response. It's like a sign of danger. So pain and injury can be causing stress. Poor sleep, not getting the rest and repair and recuperation while we're sleeping can put a stress mentally and physically on us. Being dehydrated, drinking lots of tea and coffee all day, every day, alcohol in the evening, all of those beverages actually dehydrate us. And if we're not drinking enough water as well, we can be severely dehydrated, and that puts a huge stress on the body. Lack of exercise can put a stress on the body. Too much exercise can put a stress on the body. The wrong fuel, the wrong nutrition going into our body. We wouldn't put diesel in a petrol car, but some people are putting the wrong nutrition into their body. It doesn't suit them, and it's making them feel unwell. Too much sugar can put a stress on the body. Smoking is an obvious one, and too much alcohol. There's more. A poor digestive system. If someone's got acid reflux, the pain that can create can put a stress on the body. For females, hormonal balance being out of kilter, PMS symptoms, that can cause a stress on the body. Being overweight, being over obese puts a huge stress on the body, on the joints, on the heart. Someone who's got regular headaches, someone who's overusing caffeine, that stimulation of tea or coffee on a regular basis stimulates the adrenals. So it takes us out of rest and repair mode. So hopefully that's just raised awareness on the bigger picture when it comes to stress. Understand that it's physical and it's emotional. And actually someone could be in an emotionally a good place. However, if they're making lots of poor choices in their lifestyle, that can be having an impact, a negative impact, and causing stress. So what are the signs of stress? What to look out for yourself and for others? Irritability, an obvious one. Someone gets snappy, or they may be seeing change in mood and they're becoming more irritable. A low mood. Becoming withdrawn or isolated. You know, some people are the quiet ones and they withdraw from conversation. They start saying no to lots of social gatherings and events, and that can be due to stress, because some people will vent their anger and frustration on others and are happy to do so. However, other people might do the opposite, and they don't want to vent their frustration and anger, and they're feeling a lot of it, but they don't want to be around other people in case they start burdening that on others. They don't want to be a burden on others. Headaches, tension headaches can be a sign of stress. Changing sleep patterns, insomnia. Sugar cravings, we feel an increase in the need for sugar. That can be a sign. A change in appetite. Some people, their appetite increases. They get more hungry the stressed they are, or they use food to, or when we're stressed, we tend to use up a lot of energy and then we feel tired. So people often feel the need for sugar or caffeine to lift up their energy again in an artificial way. However, that often crashes them not long afterwards and feeling tired again. So they end up being really addicted to caffeine and sugar. But then other people, actually their appetite goes the other way, and when they're stressed, they lose their appetite, they get more nauseous, they feel it in their stomach, and they start again to withdraw from interest in food. Some people use alcohol and reliant more on alcohol to relax. Morning tiredness. Stress can really impact our immune system. So if you find, or others find, that frequent colds and infections they can't get to the bottom of, that keep reoccurring, yes, it could be a low immune system, but also stress could be behind that. Loss of libido is another one. Nail biting, and also digestive health, i.e. Some people really notice that their bowels become more active, and the IBS type symptoms, irritable bowel syndrome symptoms, where there's loose stools, very frequent active bowel movements, maybe multiple times a day, not well formed, that can be IBS. One of the components of that can be stress. But some people go the other way and they become very constipated, and the tension is there, so they're not letting go and moving their bowels. So it can go either way when it comes to digestive health. And our digestive health is a really good sign of what's going on. And we really want to be, while I'm on the topic of that, it's really important to look at how we can have a good regular bowel schedule, where our bowels are well formed and moving normally. So now we understand more about stress and the causes of stress, the signs of stress. I want to just go into a few solutions to consider. So when it comes to stress, we all have our own threshold to stress. Imagine it like a tank. Some people might have a fishbowl tank to deal with the stresses, day-to-day stresses. Some people might have a swimming pool, Olympic-sized swimming pool tank, and high resilience levels to stress. What's also important to acknowledge, as well as the size of the tank, but is how full our tank feels. So imagine this, you've got buckets above the tank pouring in different stresses. Some of them are really small buckets, some of them could be huge, and anything in between. And it's important that we identify what those buckets are on a day-to-day basis or week-by-week basis. Acknowledge them. And those stresses, those buckets are pouring in our own individual stresses, and they're going into our tank and filling it up. And if those buckets keep filling up the tank and there's no other way of getting rid of that water, it builds and builds and builds until for some people it feels like they're in overwhelm, and that all those stresses are overflowing. The water is overflowing over the tank. Now, with that scenario, there are three main things that we can do to positively influence our tanks and our resilience levels. Number one is the obvious one, which you've probably already thought about, and that is to identify what those buckets are and look at how we can shrink any of those buckets or delete some of those buckets. And asking ourselves an important question, which is what's the best piece of action I can take to shrink or delete this bucket? So what I'd really like you to do, if you're watching the recording, I'd like to stop the recording and I'd like you to spend the time, or if you're not watching the recording, I would like you to do this at some point in the next 24 hours. Really schedule time in your diary to do this. And I want you to write a list of your buckets. What are those daily stresses? And it could be the small thing. It could be other drivers when you're commuting. It could be all of those different emotional stresses, financial stress, parental stress, relationship stress, the work deadline stresses. Make your list. Remember the physical ones as well. The dehydration, the wrong food, the overuse of tea and coffee, the alcohol, the being in pain, all of those things. If there's any of those things, include them as your buckets. And the first job is to reduce the amount of stress going into our tank, and making a very clear action plan on how to do that. And if you just decide on what is that one thing you can do to shrink or delete that bucket, then it's a matter of taking that action and getting clear on that action. And that one thing alone can really, really help improve resilience levels. There's two of the main points we can address to impact our tank. And some of you creative thinkers, or some of you that like to think out the box, will have already thought about this, and that is that you can go and get yourself a bigger tank and increase your resilience. Because if the same buckets are pouring in stress, then and the tank's bigger, we know that we will become more resilient and we won't be in overwhelm anymore. How do we get ourselves a bigger tank? What I want you to do for this one is I want you to make a list of all the things that relax you. All the things that relax you. Is there certain music that relaxes you? Is it being active relaxes you? Reading, being out in nature? I don't know what it is, but I want you to write the list. Be aware that if you say that alcohol relaxes you, that actually it might do in that moment. However, it can really impact our sleep that night in a negative way. It can affect how we function the next day. So ultimately that can add to the stress. Smoking might feel that it relaxes in the moment. However, we know that'll put huge stress on the body because it's impacting the lungs and the lungs are the gateway to delivering oxygen to all of our cells in our body. So anything that impairs that process can really put a stress on us. So make a list of all the things that relax you. Once you've got that list, and again, do this in the next 24 hours. If you're watching the recording, press pause, and you can do that right now. And then what I want you to do is put a plan into place. Well, first of all, look at that list and go, well, how often am I doing these things? How often am I doing these things that relax me? And then what I want you to do is put a plan in place. And which of those things are you going to do on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and schedule it in the diary? This worked wonders for me when I was, tired and stressed. What I'd do is I'd start to schedule going to my local gym and going to the sauna and steam room and spending 20 minutes in and out of there, sitting around the pool, 20 to 30 minutes actually, and that at the end of my working week really relaxed me and rejuvenated me for my weekend in my personal life. It could be as simple as 5 minutes sitting in the car, just breathing, listening to some music before you step into the house at the end of your working day. It could be yoga. It could be going in the gym and doing exercise sessions, whatever it might be for you. It could be going for a walk, but make that list and action that list. And the third thing that we can do to impact the tank in a positive way is every tank we know has a plug at the bottom of it. How do we pull the plug on the stress and let it go? What is your outlet for stress? Do you have one? It could be different again for everybody. But finding a safe outlet for the stress that doesn't have a negative effect on others. So it could be punching a punch bag down the gym for some people and being very aggressive and getting rid of the stress in that really physical way. For others, it can be just breathing out the stresses, acknowledging them and having the intention to breathe out the stress. And that was what happened for me, actually, is when I was in the sauna and steam room at the end of my working week, I would lie in there and I would think about all my stresses of the week and I would breathe them out for 5 minutes. Just exhale. Then sit by the pool, I'd go in the sauna and do the same in the steam room and just breathe out my stresses, and I felt so much lighter. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And I felt lighter in every step when I walked back to the changing rooms. So it can be really simple. It doesn't have to be in the sauna and steam room. That can be the thing that we do in the car for 5 minutes just before we step into our home. We could do it at lunchtime, having a little pit stop. So the big picture, if we delete some of the buckets or shrink some of the buckets, if we do more things that relax us to make a bigger tank, and we do some letting go and pulling the plug, if we do a bit of all of those things, we can have a real impact on our resilience levels, and that can have a real positive effect on our mental well-being. I really encourage you to make a point of going through those steps and those recommendations. It'll take you about 20 minutes to half an hour maybe. And when you get clear on your action steps, action them, make them happen, because action changes things. So act, create a plan. If you want to, share the plan with another, because accountability really helps. And then the most important thing is to take action with it. So the next topic I want to cover is sleep. And I want to go through some sleep solutions to improve your energy, to improve your focus, and to improve your mental well-being. Now, I know when I deliver live talks and workshops on sleep, I ask the question, hands up if you didn't get enough sleep last night or if you had restless sleep last night. And it's very typical for 70% of the room to put their hands up. There really is a sleep epidemic as well. Today, most people don't get enough sleep, and the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have called insufficient sleep an epidemic. Nearly half of us are getting just 6 hours of sleep or less a night, and an alarming 4 out of 5 people complain of disturbed or inadequate sleep. It's the norm, unfortunately, and you may well identify with this yourself, or if you're running a team of people, then I would hazard a very educated guess that there is a large percentage of those people that are also struggling with sleep, and it has a real impact on our body, because poor sleepers are twice as likely to struggle to be productive. And a study showed that people who woke just once or twice during the night suffered a 24% reduction in productivity the next day, even if those 1 or 2 times were for a short period of time. Almost half of Britons say that it's stress or worry that keeps them awake at night. Stress or worry. It's the worrying about what happened the day just gone, or the worry about what to remember tomorrow, or what tomorrow is going to bring. It's either the past or the future. So we are aware that there's a problem with sleep. People struggling to get off to sleep, people struggling to stay asleep, or struggling, or maybe they're sleeping through the night and just waking up still feeling tired and they haven't had enough rest. So let's go through some solutions. When it comes to sleep, there are 4 key areas. In fact, what I'd be really interested in finding out, and feel free to write this in the chat box, is how many of you do struggle with your sleep. And just write in the chat box, you know, if you do struggle with sleep, and is it getting off, staying asleep? Is it how refreshed? Is it just feeling tired in the morning? I'd be curious to know. Now, there's 4 key areas when it comes to sleep. One is the mind, one is preparation for sleep, one is the environment, the bedroom itself, and nutrition. So let's dive into these 4 key areas and let me give you some tips and solutions. So when it comes to the mind, there's lots we can do to manage that. Number 1, we can go through that stress tank process and raise our resilience by taking action on those points I raised earlier, and that in itself will increase resilience and have a huge impact. So what's next? The script, our mind. It's a wonderful thing, but also it's a wonderful thing when we know how to manage it. I don't know if you've heard of NLP. If you haven't, let me explain. NLP, N stands for neuro linguistic language, P for programming. So in other words, it's our thoughts turn into our words, turn into our actions. Everything starts with a thought. Whether it's the car that you're driving right now, or that you currently own, when you bought that, it started with a thought. You thought about which car you needed a new car, you wanted a new car, then you decided, what shall I get? Then you see them everywhere, then you look at the budget and how much you want to spend on it, and now you're driving that very car you thought of at the beginning. And you had that internal language or external language to others about what car you were going to get, and discussing it all. The same goes with a holiday. Everything starts with thought. You thought about the holiday, then where to go, then your budget, etc. All those different things. You talked about it to yourself and others, and then you ended up going on that very holiday. So everything starts with a thought. And what happens is we know that our repeated thoughts start to have an impact on our subconscious mind. And so an example of this is if a child is told over and over again, you're really great at this, you can do this, you can do this, then they believe it because they've been told a number of times that they're good at it, and they end up believing it. Likewise, the opposite's true. If they're told over and over again, they can't do this, they're no good at this, then the child will then end up believing that they're not capable. So our daily language to ourselves will impact our subconscious mind, and then that impacts the choices that we make day to day. Now, I want to put this in context with sleep, because what I find very interesting is that some people have even failed at going to sleep, or they've already decided they're going to have a bad night's sleep before they've even gone to bed. And their script can be to themselves and others, I'm a really poor sleeper. I never get to sleep. I always wake in the night. And the subconscious mind then, after days and weeks and months of repetition on that, ends up going, okay, yeah, you're a poor sleeper. You wake up every night. Let's make that happen. It's a very powerful thing, that subconscious mind. So You might be saying right now, yes, but if I suddenly start saying to myself, I'm a great sleeper, it really is conflicting and it doesn't ring true with me, so I'm telling myself a lie. So what I would suggest is in that moment is to say, well, just start by saying my sleep's getting better. My sleep's improving all the time. And it'll keep your mind open to improvement. And if it's just 1% improvement, over 100 days, I would take that, and I'm sure you would too. So be mindful of your own script around your sleep. And if you can catch any negativity around your script with sleep, I want you to change it to my sleep's improving. My sleep's getting better all the time. Just be open to a little improvement. The other thing we can do to improve sleep is do things that will put your mind in a peaceful state just before going to bed. So one of the things that can do that is simply focusing on things we're grateful for. It's really simple. It can be a bit tricky to start with, actually, if you're not used to doing this, but we've all got something to be grateful for, whether it's a roof over our head, whether it's food, whether it's friends, a job or work. We've all got things to be grateful for. And so it's spending maybe 5 minutes, or even just starting with 5 things, 10 things that you're grateful for. Maybe they're things that have happened that day. Maybe it's just things you're generally grateful for. But when you do that, and not only think it, but feel that gratitude and put just a smile on your face as you're doing it, feel it, then you will put your mind in a state of peace, which is the best place for it to be to get a peaceful night's sleep. The other thing is having a notebook by the side of the bed. Obvious one, if you wake in the night with things on your mind, just scribble it down, get it in your notebook, and it gets it out of your head and it can settle more. The next day to-do list, the mind likes to know what's happening next. And then it takes away the worry about trying to remember those things that need to be done tomorrow. So early evening or at the end of your working day, I would highly recommend writing a list of your to-do list for the next day. So it's on paper, your mind can let go of it, knows where to pick up again the next morning, and it can be in a more peaceful state. Meditation can be really helpful. And if you haven't done it before, it doesn't mean crossing your legs and chanting. It really can be done anywhere. And what I'd say is there are some very good apps that you can download for free and get some initial 5-10 minute lessons on meditation, and they guide you through it. It's not about being silent all the time, although it can be those things. These apps can guide you through the meditation, and they can be very impactful in 5 or 10 minutes. So a couple of the apps, one's called Headspace, another one's called Calm. There are many others that you can look up, download, and utilize. And I've talked about raising resilience with the stress tank process. So that's the mind. As well as that, you've got the preparations. So preparation's key. Start to relax before going to bed. So an hour before bed, we want to be dimming the lights because darkness creates a hormone called melatonin, and melatonin is the sleep hormone. So it's really important to just start dimming the light. We live in environments now where we've got artificial lighting everywhere. We no longer live in caves, so we're out of sync of the light and dark cycles. Previously, when we're living in nature, there would be a gradual reduction of light. Now we can have lights on everywhere and then just flick a switch, they go off, and then we expect to go to sleep when our body hasn't had the slow buildup of melatonin. So if you can start to dim lights in the evening, that can be helpful. Switching off screens, whether that's TVs, phones, laptops, at the very least half an hour before bed. But if you can stretch it out and do an hour before bed, that would be great. Relaxing music can help. If you know that you're very twitchy, fidgety, or you get cramps in the night, muscle cramps, then Epsom salts can be very helpful. And you can have these, put these in a bath, get high quality Epsom salts, and this can really relax the body. It's magnesium, soaks into the body, and it can help reducing muscle cramps and get rid of some of that fidgety kind of leg syndrome that some people have. So the other thing is the room itself, the bedroom. Keep it as dark as you can, pitch black, ideal, because that way you again will create more melatonin. If there's a little bit of light, that's enough to create cortisol through the eyelids, and that can mean that our sleep isn't as deep and as restful. Alarm clocks. I used to have one of those digital alarm clocks with the green LED lights right by the side of my bed, and the light from that really impacted me because When I learned this, I then changed it to a travel battery operated alarm clock where I press a button to get a light on. And honestly, that same the next morning from the first night of doing that, I noticed I had more energy the next morning. Also, with electromagnetic stress. So I'd also consider detaching ourselves from our phones. I know some people will have their phones underneath their pillows for sleep because they're using it as an alarm clock, or right by the side of the bed. I would say even if it's just for psychological benefits, it's important that we distance ourselves from our phones, because we know our emails are on there, the news is on there, messages, etc., notifications, and we're attached to them enough in our day-to-day living. So I would certainly put it at the very best. I'd put it at the very best outside the room, but at the very least just in the corner of the bedroom, where if you did use it as an alarm clock, you'd have to get out of bed to turn it off. If you can turn it to aeroplane mode as well, it means it's not going to light up, it's not going to send any messages to you, etc. So you really are distancing yourself from the world that's on our phones. So consider that too. The other thing is nutrition. It's obvious, I know, but avoid the three amigos, the sugar, the caffeine, and the alcohol that can really impact our sleep in a negative way. And however, they're all the things that many people, or lots of people, can turn to when they're feeling more stressed as well, or when they're not sleeping very well, because when we're tired, we tend to crave more sugar and caffeine. So really limit these, and certainly if you can, from after 1, 2 o'clock, don't have any caffeine. Keep to the morning. Healthy snacks can be beneficial as well before bed if they're protein based to balance our blood sugar level. So it might be things like a handful of nuts or seeds, etc. Almonds, walnuts, it could be good. Supplements, magnesium is the relaxing mineral. You could take that as a nutritional supplement. B vitamins help deal with stress as well. So there's things you can consider there. But again, always invest in the best quality you can for it to be the most effective. So sometimes you have to pay more, but actually often you get what you pay for. So action changes things. If there's things around your sleep there that you think you know would be beneficial to you, create a plan. Pause the video if you're watching on record. Write down those 1, 2, or 3 things that you're going to put into place to help your sleep. Share it with others. Take action with it. So the last section I'm going to talk about is nutrition. And I want to share with you my 3 top tips for nutrition for more energy, more clarity, more focus to improve our mental well-being. And there's going to be one particular tip in there that impacts our mental well-being in a huge way. In fact, all 3 of them will. The first one is more water, or drinking enough water, should I say. So the human body, we are 60 to 70% water. Our lungs, blood, skin, muscle, brain, bones, they all have a percentage of water that make them up. And it's ironic that in this country, we have water available at close hand on a regular basis, and yet most people are dehydrated. My favorite quote being, you only know the true value of water when the well is dry. And you know, there's many people in other countries that are walking miles for water, they understand it, and they're more hydrated than some people are in this country. And we know we can only live a few days without water, so it's so important to hydrate. So yes, 2 to 3 litres, it depends on our body weight, would be really good to get on board with. Start your day first thing in the morning with a large glass of water, even if it's before you have a cup of tea or coffee. Start with the water first. It's a great habit to get into. If you want a calculation to calculate how much water your body needs, your body weight in kilograms times 0.033 is a good guideline. Dr. Batman-Gelady came up with that equation, and he's written many books around the importance of water. And build up to those levels if you're nowhere near that level. Build up gradually. So hydration, hydration, hydration. The next tip is don't ride the blood sugar roller coaster. What do I mean by this? Well, first thing in the morning when we wake, we tend to have what's called low or lower blood sugar levels. And if you see the black line here, it's normal blood sugar. And then the red is the typical blood sugar for people. So we often wake slightly low on our blood sugar, wake up feeling in need of some caffeine or a quick breakfast, slice of toast, bowl of cereal, carbohydrates in other words. And the caffeine and carbohydrates tend to if we have those and consume those, it lifts us up and we feel human again quite quickly. However, after about an hour, maybe in that mid-morning kind of 10:30ish time, or sometimes it might be a little earlier, we get our first slump of the day. And that can be where we're feeling a bit tired, a bit hungry, losing a bit of focus, maybe getting a bit irritable. And in that moment, when our blood sugar level's low, we feel like we need another caffeine drink or some sugar or carbohydrates or biscuits to lift us up again. And so it takes us back up. We feel human again for another hour or so, but then just before lunch, we get our next slump where we feel tired, irritable, and hungry again. And so at that point, we're not feeling like the most healthiest of lunches. Most people then feel like turning to the whole meal deal. The sandwich with the packet of crisps, with the drink that goes with it. And then we make that choice. We consume that. We feel good again for a while. But then quite soon afterwards, we get that biggest slump of the day, which is usually that mid-afternoon slump around 2-3 o'clock after lunch. And we need sugar or caffeine to see us through to the end of the day. We have the caffeine again and the carbohydrates. It lifts us up. We get to the end of the working day, but then at the end of the day, we're shattered. And this used to be me as well. And I'd crawl into the house and have a meal. And for some of us, if we're cooking or planning, we want the quick and easy option at that point because we're feeling tired, and then feel really tired, crash out on the sofa, crawl into bed, only to wake the next morning feeling tired again and going through the whole same process. And wouldn't you feel tired again in the morning if you'd been on a roller coaster all day, the day previously? So I know there may be many people listening and watching this that can identify with that. The solution here is to get the start of your day right and balance your blood sugar levels. Drink plenty of water, hydrate, and make sure you're having protein with every meal and every snack to balance your blood sugar levels. So it could be eggs in the morning. It could be a good full fat yogurt with nuts and seeds and fruit on in the morning. That will balance the blood sugar levels a lot better. It could be drinking water throughout the day and snacking on the right things rather than carbohydrates, again, nuts and seeds, or maybe a piece of fruit that's a more balanced carbohydrate to intake. And then at lunch, you'll feel like you'll be in control more to make the right choices. Again, making sure there's good amounts of protein with it, whether it's soups or salads, etc. So once it's very, very possible to have your energy levels balanced throughout the day and be in control of your food choices. Get the start of your day right. Look at the glycemic index of foods. In other words, it's a list of foods and how quickly it releases as sugar. And eat foods that are lower on that glycemic index. And porridge would be another alternative and good start to the day. It's slower releasing as a carbohydrate. Okay, hope that's really helped on that front. The final point when it comes to nutrition is good health begins in your gut. There is plenty of information and evidence now to say there is a very real connection between the gut and the brain. And our gut actually can impact our brain function. You've heard the sayings before, what's your gut instinct, your gut feeling, your gut reaction? They've been around for a long, long time. Now the science is showing there's a nerve that connects our gut and our brain called the vagus nerve, and it's sending a lot of messages in each direction and a lot from the gut to the brain. So if you know your gut health isn't right, i.e. you've got bloating regularly, you struggle with acid reflux, maybe you get a lot of wind and gas, they're all signs that the gut health isn't happy. And 90% of our serotonin, the happy hormone, 90 to 95%, is manufactured and stored within our gut. It's hard to have a happy mind if our gut's not happy. So it's really important we address that by eliminating the foods that upset our gut and going and seeking out the ways to support our gut with the right bacteria in there, the probiotics, the right foods that will support our gut health. It's so, so important. If you know that your mental health is challenged and you know that your gut health is compromised, I would say, as well as addressing support with your mental health, at the same time, focus on the physicality of addressing your gut health. I do this with a number of clients and I see a huge improvement in the way that they feel mentally. Their anxiety is reduced, their mood improves, and the mental clarity comes a lot easier, and the focus. So if you found the nutrition tips helpful, create your plan. Make your list of what changes you're going to make and then action that plan. Finally, I want to say another big factor for healthy people is a sense of community. Human beings have been social creatures for years. We've traveled together, hunted together, and thrived in social communities for good reason, because if we were separated from our tribe, there were often severe consequences. Social connectedness couldn't be overlooked and more overlooked. And one study has shown that actually it's a greater detriment to health than obesity, smoking, and high blood pressure. which is powerful study, powerful information. Make sure you seek out time to be in communities. Make sure you take time to nurture your friendships, because we have increased feelings of belonging and purpose. It reduces our stress, improves our self-worth and confidence, improves our levels of happiness. Invest time in friendships and surround yourself with people who are supportive and helpful. Even if it means going out and creating new hobbies, reaching out, making new friends, etc. So I want to finish off by saying one of my favorite quotes is, the moment you take responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you can change anything in your life. Be responsible for your own health, your own mental health, your own physical health. No one's going to do it for us. It's important that we take action and we look after ourselves and prioritize our health. If you're looking for help and support on the back of this webinar, there's a few different pointers. First of all, you can reach out to me if you have a team of people, if you work in a company, in a business, and you think that well-being workshops will be helpful, then I do raising resilience webinars and face-to-face workshops, mental health well-being workshops, sleep workshops, nutrition, heart health MOTs. I go into many workplaces and support people with their health. I also do one-to-one well-being and nutrition coaching, and you can reach out to me via this email address, my telephone number, message me, or visit my website, Jon Burgess Wellbeing, for more information if you're interested in getting one-to-one support. Finally, I have a 21-day nutrition gut health program that has had amazing results over the last couple of years. It works specifically on gut health and on the microbiome and the bacteria of our gut. There's been over 200 people I've taken through this plan with great results in all aspects of health. So if you want to find out more information about that, again, you can reach out to me through those contact details. If you want to keep in touch, you want to see some of my latest videos, I'm sharing regular health information on my social media. You can find me on Facebook, Jon Burgess Wellbeing. You can see me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. And if you have a mobile phone to hand now, you can open up your camera and hover it over that QR code, and that will take you straight to my LinkedIn page if you want to link in to me there. I'll bring that back up again shortly. The other things is, if this has actually raised awareness, you're feeling sad, anxious, overwhelmed, stressed, tearful, any of those things, and I know many people can be experiencing real challenges on that, and being very tearful, ongoing crying and not understanding why, then I would recommend you reach out to one of these two charities. It could be the Samaritans, and you can see their details there, or Mind is another good one. And there are others, but these are two very experienced charities that can be there to help. And I encourage you to talk. I really can't express that enough. Do it. These are safe environments for you to do that, and they're non-judgmental environments to do that as well. If you do have any health concerns, you're on medication, then making positive changes to your health and well-being can make a positive change to your body. So work with your doctor, your GP, and let them know you're making changes to your health, because it can start to impact the way your body functions, and you may need to adjust medication accordingly as you make improvements. So it's my wish for you, I said at the beginning, that this has a real positive impact on you moving forwards. I would love to get any feedback from you, either through the association or through my social media or email address. I would love to hear how this has helped you, and I'd love to hear about what positive action you're taking. Don't just survive. If you feel like you're surviving, take the action so that you thrive, so that you're at your best. And I wish you the very best with your health and well-being, both physical and mental. Thank you for listening in. And with that, I'm going to hand back over to Jordan.
Thank you for that, Jon.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so before we wrap up this morning, there's just a couple of things that I would like to mention. So if you haven't already seen, our Built Environment Awards are now live. So please send through any submissions, or if you have any questions or need more information, please drop me an email on jordan.sutton@cbld.com, or you can give me a call and I will try my best to help. but please make sure that any submissions are in by the 30th of May. Just quickly, the next training courses that we have here at HQ are the Introduction to Plans, which is more of a workshop than a course, so please don't be put off by that word. So that is on the 20th and 21st of February. And then we have the BS 9999 and BS 9991 on the 19th and 20th of March. If you need any information on courses, please email the training@cbld.com email address, and we will do our best to get back to you as soon as we can. So with that, I just would like to thank Jon and everyone who's joined us this morning. Just to remind you that this session has been recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within the next hour or so. If there is anyone who's viewed today's session and you think it would be of benefit to a colleague, please feel free to share the link with them so that they can catch up in their own time. The next webinar that we have scheduled is on the 11th of March. This one will be taken by Ruth Wilkinson, who is a partner at Clark's Legal. The topic for this one is the art of getting paid. If you have any feedback on the webinars, if you know any topics or anything like that that you would like to see covered, then please do let us know. Alternatively, if you think that you yourself could deliver one, again, please do get in touch with us. We'll be very happy to have you on board. So with that, I will wrap up. Thank you all again for your time. What we'll do is forward on any questions to Jon outside of the session, and then we can get some answers over to you. So thank you for joining us this morning, and hopefully we'll see you online next month.